Welcome to another lecture. Today our topic is marriage systems in Africa. So we'll begin with the definition of what marriage is. According to notes and queries, page 11,951. Marriage is a union between a man and a woman, such that any children born within the union are seen as legitimate offspring of the union. Assuming 2006. According to Assuming, marriage is a socially recognized arrangement whereby consenting adults of the opposite sex are brought together into a relationship where the offsprings are socially recognized. Now, if you look at these two definitions, the focus is on a union between a man and a woman. That is between people of the opposite sex who have gone through certain socially recognized procedures to be recognized as such. And the children that are born in that union are considered as legitimate offspring of the union. This implies that in traditional African societies, any union besides the union of a man and a woman does not constitute what is referred to as marriage per the traditional standards. Although in recent years, people were advocating for different forms of union between people either of the same sex. Types of marriage. There are several types of marriage in Africa, but our focus is going to be on 3 types of marriage. These 3 types of marriage are categorized under the general umbrella as primary marriage. Primary marriage. It is referred to as primary marriage because it is usually the type of marriage that people enter for the first time in their life. The first type of primary marriage is referred to as monogamy. Monogamy is a type of marriage where a man or a woman is married to one person at a time. So in this marriage, there is only one man and one woman at a particular point in time. The first type of marriage under the primary marriage is monogamy. Monogamy is a type of marriage where a man or a woman is married to one person at a particular point in time. So in monogamy, it is one man, one wife. But there are situations where a person may have had or a person may have 2 or more spouses at a particular point in time. In situations where a person have had more than one spouse, but married each of these spouses at a particular point in time, is referred to as serial monogamy. Serial monogamy. Let me give you an example. For instance, Mr. Mwako, or let's say Mr. A, in the year 2013 gets married. And then in 2017, there is a divorce. In 2020, Mr. Mwako remarries. In 2030, something happens and they get separated. And then in 2032, he remarries. So if you look at Mr. Amwako, you can say that he has been married 3 times or 4 times in his lifetime. But in all of these marriages, he married each of his wives at a particular point in time, one at a time. He did not marry all of them together. So a situation where a person marries more than one spouse in a lifetime, but married each one of them at a particular point in time, is referred to as serial monogamy. The next one is polygamy. The next type of marriage is what is referred to as polygamy. Polygamy is an umbrella term which refers to a type of marriage where a man or a woman may be married to more than one spouse at a time. More than one spouse at a time. It may be a man or a woman. Under polygamy, we have a term that is referred to as polygyny. And polygyny is a type of marriage or a type of polygamous marriage which involves a man having more than one spouse. So where a man marries more than one wife is referred to as polygyny. The second one is polyandry. Polyandry. Polyandry is also another type of polygamous marriage, but here it is where a woman marries more than one husband. Situations where a woman marries more than one husband is referred to as polyandry. Polygyny is very common in Africa, and it cuts across several societies. There were reasons for the establishment of polygamous marriages. Firstly, it served as a source of social status for the man. It also brought economic power and wealth to the man. For instance, in our traditional societies, people were largely involved in traditional economic activities like farming, like fishing, like weaving. So in situations where a man is cultivating 1 or let's say 10 acres of land, where he has 2 or more wives, he's going to be able to cultivate more acres of land. If he ends up having about 5 children with each of these wives, he's going to have 15 children. And these children are going to serve as a labor force for his economic activity. So he gets labor for free. He's able to cultivate more land. And that increases his social status and wealth in society. Again, a man's ability to pay the bride price for 3 women or more women is also a determinant or a mark of wealth and social status, or was a determinant of wealth and social status in traditional African societies. Societies where polyandry is, or in societies where you find women getting married to more than one man, some of these societies include the Heroros, 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 the Heroros of Southern Africa, as well as the Lele of Kasai in Central Africa. In these societies, women are allowed to marry more than one man. The next type of marriage is child betrothal. Child betrothal is a type of arranged marriage. The word is arranged marriage between 2 children or between a girl and an elderly man. The accounts refer to child marriage or child betrothal as isiwa. The practice of child betrothal varies across societies. In some societies, for instance, among the accounts, for instance, it is referred to as isiwa. Here, the man who is interested in the girl approaches the family of the girl, makes his intention known to them, and then when the family accepts it, the girl continues to live in the house of her parents until she reaches the maturity age of marriage and is ready to bear children. Then the man comes to perform the final marriage rites and takes her home as his wife. If it is an arranged marriage between 2 children, the children continue to live in their own homes. Their parents continue to have the good relationship as future or prospective in-laws. And when these young children are old enough or reaches the marriage age to be married, the final marriage rite is performed for the girl to come into the boy's house as his wife. During the period of waiting, whilst the girl grows, the man becomes responsible for her, sometimes financially, and the financial support the man renders to the girl even extends to her family as well, her parents, her siblings, and other members of her family. The man continues to perform some bridal services, like visiting them, assisting them with their farm work, let's say for instance, he goes to the house and they are pounding fufu, he can help, especially with the boy. So the man continues to perform some roles for the girl and her family until the final marriage rite is performed, and then she's married off. Among the Yakos of southeastern Nigeria, the nature of the child betrothal is such that the child is allowed to be in a certain kind of relationship with the boy he is betrothed to, or the man she is betrothed to. There is the likelihood that that relationship may lead to the occurrence of intimacy, and the girl may even end up getting pregnant. To prevent betrothed people from getting involved with each other intimately, certain rituals are performed in case the girl gets pregnant. And the nature of that ritual is such that it is humiliating and acts as deterrent for the two people who are betrothed to each other not to engage themselves in any illicit relationship. Among the Igbos of Southeast Nigeria, what happens here is that when a girl is 9 or 10 years old, the prospective husband can request of the family to allow the girl come and live with him in his house. The man then becomes responsible for the girl, and when the girl reaches the age of maturity to be married, he goes to the girl's family, performs the final marriage rites, and then takes her as his wife. Apart from these three types of marriages, which comes under the general umbrella of what is referred to as primary marriages, there are other types of marriages that are referred to as secondary marriages. They are usually the type of marriages that people get involved in after they have been married once before. So it is referred to as secondary marriages. The first type of marriage to be discussed is woman-to-woman marriage. The first type of marriage under the secondary marriage is woman-to-woman marriage. Woman-to-woman marriage is a type of marriage where a woman who does not have the reproductive capacity to bear children is allowed to marry another woman as her wife in order for the other woman to give birth to children for her. So in woman-to-woman marriage, there are two women involved. The woman who pays the bride price assumes the role of the husband or a husband, while the woman who receives the bride price assumes the role of a wife. In woman-to-woman marriage, there is no sexual intimacy between the two women. What happens is that after the woman performs the marriage rites and brings the other woman in as her wife, she selects a man to get intimate with the other woman or her wife. When her wife gets pregnant, the child that she gives birth to belongs to the woman and not the man who impregnated her. So under this, we have two terms that we refer to as pater, which is explained as social father, and then genitor, which is referred to as biological father. So here, a father can be defined either as a biological father, a genitor, or a social father, the pater. The social father is the father who takes care of the child, whilst the biological father is the father who caused the woman to conceive the child. In most African societies, prominence is given to the social father over the biological father. So when a man impregnates a woman and then abandons the woman, and then another man takes up that responsibility, the man who takes up the responsibility of taking care of the child is recognized as the father of the child rather than the one who caused the woman to conceive that child. So in woman-to-woman marriage, the woman who has married another woman is recognized as the father of the child her wife gives birth to, rather than the man who caused the woman to conceive the child. The next type of marriage under the secondary marriage is widow inheritance. Widow inheritance, as the name suggests, is a type of marriage where members of a deceased man's family take over the latter's widow and continue to assert his auxiliary and genitorial rights. So it's a type of marriage where the wife of a deceased man is allowed to marry another person from the family of her deceased husband. And the other person she marries continues to perform the role of a husband for her. Levirate or leveratic marriage, just like the widow inheritance, is also a type of marriage where a woman is allowed to marry the brother of her deceased husband. So, widow inheritance and levirate marriage are similar in a way, but they are also different, or there are some differences between them. The first similarity to note is that in widow inheritance and levirate marriage, it involves the situation where the woman is allowed to marry somebody related to her deceased husband. But in widow inheritance, the woman is only allowed to marry any member of the man's family or any member of her deceased husband's family. So it can be her deceased husband's brother, it can be his uncle, his nephew, his grandfather, any member of the deceased husband's family. The woman can marry him. But with the levirate or leveratic marriage, the woman is only allowed to marry the brother of her deceased husband. In widow inheritance, the children that are born by the new husband belongs to the deceased husband. So in widow inheritance, after the widow remarries any member of her deceased husband's family, the children that she gives birth to as a result of the new marriage belongs to the deceased husband. So in this situation, the deceased husband is the social father, where the new husband who conceived or impregnated her is the biological father. But in the leveratic marriage, the children that are born to the new husband belongs to the new husband. So in leveratic marriage, when the woman remarries the brother of her deceased husband, the children that she gives birth to with her husband's brother are the children for her husband. The last type of marriage to be discussed is ghost marriage. Ghost marriage is said to be a type of marriage where a young man who dies before getting married, his surviving kin marries for him. So this is the situation. There is a young man, probably 25, in his 20s or early 30s, and then he dies but never got married. So after his death, his family sees a woman they are interested in. They put their request before the girl's family of their intention to marry her. And then they marry the girl for their deceased son or brother or whoever. And this type of marriage, after the marriage ceremony has been conducted, the family of the deceased young man brings the girl to their house as their wife. And then they select a member of their family to perform for the woman the responsibilities and duties that the deceased man would have performed for her as a wife or as a husband, So this brings us to the end of today's lecture. Today we looked at what marriage is and the types of marriage. We said there are two main categories of marriage: primary marriage and then secondary marriage. The primary marriage includes monogamy, polygamy, and then child betrothal, while secondary marriage includes widow inheritance, leveratic marriage, ghost marriage, and then woman to woman marriage. Thank you.